Good morning, everybody. I hope you're keeping well. It's a nice, bright, sunny morning. I hope you get the opportunity to enjoy it a little bit. We're reading this morning from Mark chapter 9 and beginning at verse 30. They went on from there and passed through Galilee. And he did not want anyone to know, for he was teaching his disciples, saying to them, "The Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of men, and they will kill him. And when he is killed, after 3 days, he will rise." But they did not understand the saying, and were afraid to ask him. And they came to Capernaum. And when he was in the house, he asked them, "What were you discussing on the way?" But they kept silent, for on the way they had argued with one another about who was the greatest. And he sat down and called the 12. And he said to them, "If anyone would be first, he must be last of all, and the servant of all." And he took a child and put him in the midst of them, and taking him in his arms, he said to them, "Whoever receives one such child in my name receives me. And whoever receives me receives not me, but him who sent me." The phrase "on the way" is used 9 times in Mark chapters 8 to 12. And it's used here twice in the space of 2 verses. What were you discussing on the way? Verse 33. But they kept silent, for on the way they'd argued with one another. So we have this idea that Jesus is on the way. He is on the move. There is constant movement through these chapters, and he has a destination in mind. He's not just going from village to village around Galilee. He is on his way to a particular place, and that place, of course, is Jerusalem, and his destination is the cross. And he's open about this with his disciples. As we read in chapter 8, he speaks plainly to them about what is going to happen. But they don't understand. They still haven't grasped the idea that the Messiah is coming to die on a cross. And we're told here in the gospel, they don't ask questions about it. They just keep their misunderstanding to themselves. Maybe it's fear. Maybe they're they're concerned about getting the same response that Peter got when he actively rebuked Jesus and said, "You're not going to the cross." Maybe they just don't want to reveal their slowness to get it. Maybe they just are like that child in class who doesn't want to ask a question. Because they think everybody else already knows the answer. We know they don't get it, and we know they don't understand it because of the argument that they have along the road. Jesus has told them that he is going to have to die, that it is necessary that he dies. And their argument along the road is which one of them is the greatest disciple. Which one of them is the most loyal, the most faithful, the most talented, I don't know. But they have misunderstood what greatness in God's kingdom is about. And it's been there again and again and again. It's been there in the mustard seed parable. It's been there in the kinds of people that Jesus deliberately relates to and goes to and helps, but they haven't got it yet. Greatness in the world is all about how maybe wealthy you are, how famous you are, how powerful you are. But greatness in God's kingdom is the total opposite of that. Perhaps in Jesus' day you would have been considered a great person by the number of servants that you had. But in God's kingdom, it's not about how many servants you have, but about how many people you serve, about what your attitude to serving others is. When Jesus dies on the cross, it will be as a servant, a suffering servant that Isaiah promised. When he dies, it will be a death for everyone, from the greatest to the least, from the most important person in the world to the most insignificant child. Jesus will give his life as a ransom, he'll say later on, for many. As we travel with Jesus on the way of discipleship, we need to learn what true greatness really is. And it's all about how we receive what Jesus in Matthew's Gospel calls the least of these. How we receive the overlooked, how we receive the people who don't matter in society, who are on the edges, on the fringes. How we serve one another. The example that Jesus gives here is of the little child who really was of no significance at all in the empire. But Jesus says, you need to be the servant of these too. How we receive our children says a lot about how we get the gospel. How we serve our children says a lot about how we get the gospel. If we're serving them, if we are showing them Jesus, if we're making them feel welcomed and accepted and received, then we're doing what Jesus asks us to do. We're on the way with him. I hope that you know his love and his grace. Know that he came as a servant for you. And I trust that as we think about his call in our lives, we will think also about how we are serving those who are on the outside, those who are on the fringes, those who are small and insignificant in the world's eyes, but who Jesus calls us to put first. God bless.